Hey there! Greetings, everyone. Stan here. Little bit of technical, challenge going on, but we're here. We're grooving. We're ready to do another episode of Random Encounters. I'm your host, Stan, the cartoonist, the improv cartoonist, the man with the magic fingers. That sounds a little creepy. Never mind. Cancel that. I'm your cartoonist for the evening, and we're going to do another challenge, or another set of challenges, where I use random encounter tables, like the kind you find in tabletop role-playing games, like Dungeons & Dragons, to create some situations with a character and an activity. Don't know what they're going to be, but after we figure them out, I'm going to draw them. And I'm, of course, going to come to you in the audience. We've got a couple people here already. Hello, Linnea and the rest of the Lemon crew, if they're on the couch too. This is like week 33 of this, episode 33, which is a good while. I think we're starting to get a little bit of a groove. But, of course, the other thing I learned is that no matter how good a group you have, sometimes technology throws you a little hiccup, which is what happened when I started today. I was getting ready to go, and all of a sudden, my iPad wasn't talking with my computer, and so I needed to make that happen. Otherwise, you can't see what I'm drawing, and that's not exciting for anyone. So let me see here. I got that. I'm not going to say I got that problem licked, but I got it at least temporarily licked. And we can now have a look here and see. But these are our random encounter tables for the evening. I've starting to put some holiday themed stuff into our what. Of course, the Who column is still mostly fantasy creatures, D&D creatures. And on the what side, we've got a bunch of stuff that you might do this time of year. Yeah, 33, I know, it's amazing. Right, Linnea? I had 33 episodes. And you guys have been here for most of them. So, hey, I should make a special badge for you. All right, well, enough of this. Let's dive right in. I'm going to come in here and pull up my die roller, and we're going to use this to randomly select what it is we're drawing. As I said before and kind of showed you, I'm doing all of this on an iPad Pro. I'll be using the Procreate app and an Apple Pencil. None of this is sponsored, though I remain open to the possibility if anyone would like to jump in there. And, not just these guys. Anyone else wants to sponsor it, drop me a line. You know where to find me. Anyway, let's get into this. Enough of that sponsorship. So who needs that? We just want to draw. All right, so we're gonna once, twice, third time. Our first is 6. We know 6 is adventurers. I keep adventurers in that 6 slot because it's a broad open category. Let's see. We got once, twice, third time for what? What are the adventurers doing? That's reading comics. Really? Is that what I had there? Yeah, 2. Reading comics. Reading comics. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? So that's what we will draw first. Let's pull up here, and I'm going to turn off the tables, and we're going to be on our sketch layer. I do my sketches in blue, and I use my Studio Pen inking brush. And let's see. Yeah, snowflakes and fall foliage. Fall foliage is going to fall off the list pretty soon, and that's how it is, right? Sometimes you still got beautiful orange leaves on the trees when you get your first frost or your first snowfall. I think that's an okay crossover to have there. All right, so we're doing adventurers reading comics. When I said reading comics, I think the thing I had in mind most was reading the Sunday comics. Kind of lying on the ground. And we have someone else sitting here and looking over the shoulder. Let's move that over to the side a little, and then over here we can have maybe a comfy chair, and someone can be sitting in that and reading a different comics page. That seems like a fine start. I have such happy memories of reading comics. And I've read a lot of comics. I think perhaps for those of you who saw that might have thought comic books, which would have been a fine interpretation also. But I think that reading the Sunday comics was such an integral part of my growing up. And the thing that really is kind of disappearing, since who gets the paper anymore? I mean, kids today, they don't know from the Sunday paper the just the joy of getting up and having those big, large pages of comics to read. Okay, so let's see, if these are going to be adventurers, I guess we're going to want to have, it can be an elf. Just thinking, I got a guy in a chair. Large and beefy, so I'll give him shoulder pads. Make these legs a little shorter. Oh, I meant to have that be an eraser. If I have this little front guy be the gnome that we often draw. All right. That's looking like a good start, huh? And so we'll go to our lines layer and put in some lines. I guess we'll start here with a gnome. And I feel like I'm actually getting a little better at drawing these guys quickly. That's what happens when you do something for 33 weeks in a row, right? So we want to have now. I often will say, you want to start with the lines you're confident in, but a corollary to that, particularly if you're trying to work fast, is to draw things that you know how to draw. It seems like a weird little rule, but uh, I try to do. I want to do these quickly so that we can get 3 drawings a show done without making everyone wait too long. Uh, you know, Tying up too much time. And one of the good things about practicing, you know, about having just drawing regularly, just for fun, is that when you sit down to draw, you have a better um, visual vocabulary, things that you've done before. It's easier to draw something that you have done in the past. So, if you want to get better, one of the reasons why you want to practice is that no matter how difficult the thing may be this time when you draw, the next time your practice is going to help, because you'll be able to draw on that, literally and figuratively. So my advice of practice is I'm trying to. I feel like I'm stating the obvious, but there's an underlying thing I'm trying to bring out in that. Is that, yes, you'll get better. You'll definitely, the way to get better at anything is to practice. But there's an advantage that comes with the practice also, and that's that it becomes easier. Not just better, but easier, which in turn makes it more fun. And then you can stretch. Once you know for sure how to do one thing, then you know that since you know you can do that, you can try something else, add in a thing you haven't done before. And you're guaranteed that the thing that you've done before, right, will come out pretty good. And that'll make it easier to try something new. I still feel like I'm not saying that idea. I'm really not getting across what I was hoping to. Let me know if I'm making any sense. Okay. We've got a couple of a gnome and an elf, and then over here we're gonna have the human fighter type. Again, let's say I'm taking a huge advantage of the things that I know I can do already because I've done them before. Just putting some comics there on the back. I see we've got some more comments there. I'll have to look up and get a better idea of what folks are talking about. Just let me get this down and I'll look and see, because maybe you're saying something that will help me understand what I am and am not making plain. Among the things here that I'm taking advantage of that experience on are drawing this chair. It's done a lot of drawings with people on comfy chairs, so that lets me know pretty straightforward how to draw it and how to I don't have to worry about, am I getting it right? Is that going to work? I know it's going to work because I've done it a lot before. Alright, let me see what's going on here in the chat. Olivia's there. Fantastic, excellent stuff. I really enjoy your streaming. Before you get a partner or stage or even affiliate status on Twitch, channel needs to gain more viewers and followers. It's okay with you. I can offer you some advice on how to grow your channel. You know what? I never turn down advice. I don't always follow it, but I certainly, people know more than I do. So, Olivia, I may well reach out to you and do that, but we shall see. Dave Lemon, which strip are they reading first? Who needs food badly? Of course, the fighter is trying to read the multicolored. Oh God, yeah. What if that was not a paper at all, but a mimic? That that would be funny. That would indeed be funny. But I think I'm just going to leave our comics be. Alright, let me turn off the sketch layer and look at what we got here. Maybe add some extra lines just to make it a little plainer. Plainer. There's another pun. Unintended. It would be funny if if this comic sheet actually had, teeth. Maybe I will go in there and add that. That's kind of funny. Not even kind of funny. Once again, the lemons have brought the funny. But I'm going to have to change the expression on his face. Suppose I really would like to drop this here also. I'm going to get rid of the thing that says comics, and we can do that, and then we can come back in here and change the expression on his face so he's just shocked. Again, some of this is very easy to do quickly. Like I was saying before, because I've done it before, I know I want to get a certain gesture or expression, then I can think about the times I've done that thing before. And get it very quickly. There you go. The kids who read the comics, grown-ups fighting a mimic. Maybe we'll even put mimic on there. Let's come over here and we can change this one so it says comics. This one will say mimics, or just mimic. Comic and mimic. Comic. Alright. There we go. It's looking pretty good. Let's go to the colors layer and let's throw some colors on this and wrap her up. So we're going to go, and I'm going to go. I like to use the gloaming brush for when I'm doing coloring. Allows me to put in color in a quick crayon / marker-ish style. That. I'm worrying about large, rough shapes rather than full details. Allows me not to fill the whole space up. Still get that feeling that I'm doing specific coloring. Okay. Now, we still have that little trick of doing, you want to do something that's black, you don't actually do it as black. You do it as a dark version of a gray, of a blue or a gray or a purple. And it reads like that hair, it looks like black hair. But you all saw when I put it on there, that was for sure some blue. Do armor. I think we may have talked about this before. I'd like to take a version of blue, pick one, and take little variations on it. It looks silverish if you pick the right kind of blue. And if I pick 3 variations on it, I can mix and match them around, and it comes out looking like a suit of armor. Let's just, and I think we're going to give him stripy pajamas. Stripy pajama top and then solid pants. And then our elf Nice green sweater or pajama top, or I don't know, whatever she gets up in the morning and is wearing. Maybe she was already dressed. Again, see how I'm just picking some of the shapes that are already implied and coloring to those shapes. It winds up feeling like the whole thing is colored. There we go. And then we're going to put some color on the comics. Just going to randomly throw some color down. Since I'm not going to draw the contents of the comics, I'm going to give the impression of this being a Sunday color comic by just putting some colors on there. We've got to come back and do that mimic. And the chair, though. You don't want to forget that. There we go. Let's pick that color, a little off-white for the teeth. A little darker so it stands out a little more. And what do I want to do? I want to add a little extra shading just to give a sense of depth, maybe particularly on the tongue there. But for our characters too, oh yeah. And you know, we talked about this in relationship to white, how depending on what color you use for the shade, it changes the reading of what kind of white you're looking at. The same thing goes here for skin tones. You can give the same flat skin tone, like there. Look, between the elf and the gnome, I use two different highlight colors, and it makes them look like they've got two different skin tones, when we know that it's just the same flat tone that I put over everywhere. That's one of those little tricks you learn for ways to fool the eye of your reader. Make your reader's eye do the work for you. All right. There we go. I think that's pretty good. We'll come back to our inking and black, and I'll put a little sand on that. And we have adventurers reading the Sunday comics. Bop, ba-dop, bop, bop, boop. I really do need... Oh, you know what? I didn't put any color on the chair yet. I want to have some color on the chair. a reading chair that's got that kind of off-white creamish color. Dave Lemon may remember that. It's a chair I got from Bill Olmstall, who no one else here on the feed is going to remember, but it's a friend of ours, former co-worker and friend of mine. There we go. So we got adventurers reading the comics. Good job. Let's close this up. Open up round 2 and reopen up the encounters and go back to the die and get a second drawing to do. Well, I'm going to pause and take a little drink. Now, let's go and see what we get for our second drawing. So we'll come back and we'll roll the dice once, twice, third time. 1 is the Who, and once, twice, third time. 1 and 1. All right, I don't know what 1 and 1 is, but it's different. We got a Yeti, who's a street corner Santa. I originally was going to write Salvation Army Santa, but doesn't necessarily have to be Salvation Army, and none of that fit in the little the little space I have here. Street Santa is enough. I know what I mean. I'm pretty sure you knew what I meant. Anyway, we'll turn that off. We'll come back here to sketch layer, and we're going to do a Yeti as a Street Santa. Okay. So we'll start here. Oop, got the wrong brush, don't I? And so the Yeti's got a big body, kind of a little head, big body, big legs. And have broad shoulders. And he's going to be ringing a bell. And he'll have a hat on. Have a big cauldron that he's standing in front of. That says donate on it. I need to figure out how much, besides the Santa hat, besides the Santa hat, what should I give him? A Santa jacket that doesn't fit very well. Like that. Or belt. Not so sure about the belt. Not because it's not a good idea, but because it's hard to, it becomes a... you'll notice, or you may not notice what I'm about to point out to you, that I I like to work in large, rough shapes, particularly when we're going fast like this. And the thing about a belt is it's got to conform to the shape that it's on. And unless, if, so, let me just zoom in here. So if I've got a body here and I want to do a belt across it, that's pretty easy. But if I want to do a belt that doesn't fit right, it's got to come off a ways and then go off it. And you really need to understand the volume of the body that you're working with. And I look at this Yeti, and because of what I've chosen to do here with the posture and the other things around it, the volume of that body is not clear to me. And I'm going to opt to not worry about that. I'll be honest about it. I'm just going to choose not to worry about that. And, when you're doing your drawings, you should do that too, right? You pick the things that are important and let the other things go. When it come up against something and it requires information that you haven't given, well, then this is not the right time to draw it. Okay, that's pretty good. I like that. When we go to our lines layer, I can see that pretty clearly. I don't know how clearly you all can see. What I have in mind, see what I have in mind. I didn't finish that thought. Again, I'm using rough shapes. I'm using these little lines just to give a little more indication of where the shape is going. It's not working the way I want it to. Nope. See how I'd made a few of these decisions in the sketch that maybe weren't 100% clear to you, but it, like I was saying before, I'd made some decisions about shapes, and once those decisions were made, I only had to put down a couple of little guidelines for me to know what was going to build out of it. I think that's one of the reasons why watching an artist draw is so fascinating, is that the artist almost always can see more out of what's on the page than you can, right up to the end. And here again, these are coming in. Now it's the time I'm going to need to know where that cauldron is going to be specifically, so I'm going to have to put that in next. Oop, come on. goes on, and you see here how putting these little, I don't know, a Santa jacket is kind of a bulky thing, but if I make it fit more closely to the arm structure, and I put in these little lines here which indicate that it's pulling tight, you get the illusion of a tight poor fitting jacket, which is what we want here. Ringing the bell. Every time I say that, I hear Chuck Berry in my head. Here again, I can go so quickly on these shapes because I've drawn them a lot of times. I was just talking to some people earlier this week about drawing and saying that you don't want to do kind of what I'm doing here, and that's draw to the outline, because you want to figure out the shape, the underlying shape, for all the reasons I was talking about just a little earlier, because it lets you know how tight to put clothing, where to put bulges, other things like that. But you need to figure out the shapes of things. Now, the reason that I'm breaking my rules here is that I already have figured out the shapes of things, and I've done this. This falls into that same rule of I've done this a lot, so I know how it's going to work. And unless you have drawn, unless you're in the same situation where you're doing something you've drawn a lot, I would say take the time. Take the time to do all of the undersketching and not start off drawing the outline. Because once you get, particularly if you're not drawing digitally like I am, once you put a line down, that it's down, and you've got to live with it, and you've got to work with it from then on. Even with erasers, right, there's just an amount that you'll just never erase. Okay, let's turn off the sketch layer and see what we got here. Want to make sure I get the feeling that he's covered in fur, being a Yeti and all. There we go. We got a street corner Yeti Santa. I'm not sure right now, that looks like a fake beard, and I really would like it to look like it's his real Yeti beard. Alright, I think that's looking good. Alright, so what I want to do now is we're going to go into do some colors. So I go to the colors lines. I once again switch to the gloaming brush. And what I want to do is have the Yeti's skin tones all be that kind of. I've seen a lot of purported pictures of Yeti. Very often their skin tone is dark. It's kind of a heat absorbent dark color because they live in cold places. Also, because it easily sets off against the white of their fur. So I'm going to pick another one of these fake black colors, dark blue. Now the thing is, I also want the pot to be a dark color like that, but I'm going to make that even bluer. Make the brush bigger. I think that you can see, again, that while both of those were clearly blues, they both look pretty black. Your brain is a crazy organ. It sees what it sees. It sees what it thinks it sees, or it tries to interpret what it sees. And once it's made up its mind about something, that's what you see. No matter what's actually there. So again, we'll get some large color areas for the jacket and hat. We're going to do an orangish color for the bell. Is that right? Do an orange or a yellow? Maybe a yellow. Bell. Going back and using the same color as the pot for the Yeti's claws. Alright, so now I'm going to do another bit of that multicolor. Right now we've got, that's kind of for flat colors about it. Right, the Yeti is white and the Santa tufts are white. Maybe this is where I want to put the orange for the donate. Sign. Yeah, so it's definitely white, but we want them to stand apart from each other. So I'm going to do another kind of case in point example of what happens when you use different accent colors. So I'm going to use a pale yellow, very pale, not terribly bright yellow, but something similar to the color we were using on the chair in the previous drawing. I'm going to use that to highlight the Yeti's fur, to do little bits of shadow on the Yeti's fur, because it's out running in the snow, but it's not clean. It's not a pure white. So we'll use that color there to highlight the Yeti's fur. Like this. Right? It still looks white. It definitely looks like it's, that's white fur on that Yeti for sure. I haven't changed that at all. But it looks different than the white of the Santa ruffs. And we're going to make that even more true because I'm going to come in here and use a very clean blue for highlights. Just a little darker than that. For the highlights on the Santa ruff. And I want you to just notice how when you look at this drawing, those look like two very different colors. You can clearly see, I mean, in your head. I think if you imagine it, you can very clearly see the difference. Those are two different colors. But in point of fact, it's all mostly white. It's all 90% white. Again, your brain sees those little cues and it decides what that means, and then that's what you see. I think I want to get a little bit darker version of this to highlight. The skin areas. That. I want to go again with, come on, that, and go a darker version of that. So we can make the cauldron seem a little more three-dimensional. There we go. Maybe we'll give him very red eyes. And we've got a Yeti street corner Santa. I think this would be a fun concept to start with for doing a more complete drawing, showing what else is going on this street and how many people are actually donating to our street corner Santa and how many are running away in fear because, holy cats, that's a Yeti. Wonder how many gold pieces he'd raise for charity. Alright, so I'm going to come back to the inking brush, and put my stand on it. And we have a street... Oh, you know what? No, we're not done yet. I was just about done when I realized I forgot to do one of the things I wanted to do. And that's to put a little shading on the Santa clothing. Like that there. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's the stuff. Put my signature on the colors layer. Doesn't really matter. Alright, so we got a Yeti street corner Santa. Pretty good. It's 2 drawings down. Let's take a little rest and then I'll have a look at what's going on. Doesn't look like a lot's been going on in the chat. How are you all doing out there with this holiday season going on? Are you all set? It's the 7th, so only about 18 days until Christmas. 18 shopping days left till Christmas. How you doing with your Christmas or holiday shopping? Today also, first night of Hanukkah. Really more down my alley. Happy Hanukkah to those out there that celebrate. Merry anything, whatever it is you celebrate to you out there, no matter what. I know that I got my Christmas cards or holiday, and it's not Christmas. My year-end cards, my New Year cards, printed early, but I haven't filled any of them out yet. So now suddenly, instead of being ahead, I'm at best right on time. I've got to start filling those out and sending them to folks. Which, is a thing I do joyfully. I'm happy. I do it because I like doing it. But it's time that needs to be taken in a season when there seems to be not enough time to go around. All right, so we've done the adventurers reading comics. We've done a street corner Santa who's a Yeti. Let's do one more drawing and get to it. Call it an evening. Wow. I'm doing this all wrong. Turn that off. Turn it all off. We're going to round 3. We want to be in the sketch. But first we need to look at this. One more time. We're going to do one more choice and see what the dice come up with for us. So, go over to our... Come on. Go over to our die roller. And we got once, twice, third time. 4 is our who. And once, twice, third time. 4, no, we got matching 1s and now matching 4s. So, let's see, 4 and 4 for our last drawing is going to be a Cyclops. I was kind of, when I put the Yeti and the Cyclops on at the same time, I thought, I wonder what the chances are they're both going to roll. They're both big, hulking creatures. That's all right. And 4 is a Cyclops eating snowflakes. Aww. Aww. Pearl Harbor Day, Krampusnacht. Do people really celebrate Pearl Harbor Day? Do you send Pearl Harbor Day cards? It is Pearl Harbor Day, though. Today I went this afternoon to watch the new Godzilla movie, Godzilla -1, and some of the folks I was with commented on the small or not insignificant irony of going to see a Godzilla movie on Pearl Harbor Day. Krampusnacht was last night or the night before, though, wasn't it? All right, so we got a Cyclops eating snowflakes. Turn off that. Come back to the color and brush I want. And we're going to have a Cyclops. You can see what I'm drawing already. Alright, so I've already decided that my Cyclops is going to have kind of a figure 8 shaped head. With a big mouth, and he's got his tongue sticking out. Big body. Do a big club like giants sometimes have. Big club with spikes on it. going to be snow falling. Alright. So I guess here's another chance to just talk about how I like to work with shapes. So I'm going to turn that layer off for a second, actually, and put on a new layer so we can look at something. So I want, for my Cyclops, I've decided I want to have a big body. Let's say we had a kind of a figure eight shaped head, a conical body. I want the arms to be thinner at the shoulders and wider at the hands with little nubby fingers, and then short legs. So I want the shape to be of the body to be something like that. And once I know that, that helps me in making all my other decisions. Whenever I'm drawing anything, I start with that, right? We've got a figure eight shaped head, so the eye's going to go there. Nose there, so we're going to have a big mouth here. Ears would come in that area. You can break it down. If you had a triangular shaped head going down, you'd want to have wide set eyes and maybe a longish nose and a little mouth. Ears could come up at the top, or ears could come out of the side. Either way. But you start with the rough shape and then you fill it in later. Now, like I say, having done this a lot before, I've made some of these decisions in the past. I've done similar things before. I think our Cyclops is going to be wearing a big tiger skin tunic. He's got a big belly. I want those fingers to be small, though. Alright, let's grab all that, put him up bigger into the page. And that's really about all I need to get started on this. And because I know the shapes and I've made these decisions ahead of time, that gives me a really good starting point. Okay, so go to the lines layer and put my lines on. And I'm confident about this line, so I'll start there. The weird thing I find about Cyclops is, drawing Cyclops is not so much the one eye, it's the one eyebrow. Everything that I want to do with eyes. Again, I'm gonna turn that off and put on a new layer so that I can show you something. But eyes, you can do a lot by moving them around and giving them slightly different shapes like that. Right, and they convey a lot of emotion. But you'll notice that a lot of this actually comes from the implied nature of where the eyebrows would be. The eyebrows carry a lot of weight. In fact, if I just do a face here with a smile, even a nose, and all I put are eyebrows, you can get a lot of emotion just with the eyebrows. So, the idea of doing all that with one line, one eyebrow, it's hard, right? It's just very, very different. And that's what freaks me out about doing Cyclopses. Okay, what am I doing here? What am I doing? Tell me, what am I doing? I am drawing. That's what I'm doing. And again, we talked about those big shapes. Give me a lot of idea of where I want to draw things. And if I put in, talk about lines we're confident in. If I put in a big line I'm confident in, I can then spend a little extra time figuring out exactly what I want to do with the smaller lines. And I knew, we talked about before, right? I know what rough shapes I want. We'll get some more detail on that in a minute. Go. Forgot when I was doing the drawing, if you're going to have hands that are big, beefy hands with tiny little fingers, you want to have feet that are big, beefy feet with tiny little toes. They'll almost certainly match. Now I'm just going to put little hint of tree grain on there. This is another, just a little thing. What I had there before, let's back up and show you, is that the arm ran almost all the way up to the edge of the shirt sleeve, which is fine. That's certainly true, but looks a little better if you leave it a little space and then let the eye see that the skin flows through there. You're not going to, every time you have two lines running up against one another, you have the chance that the eye is going to interpret it as on the other side of that line is something different. Now I'm going to draw some random spotty shapes, which we'll fill in with a color later on, so that this looks like a tiger pelt. or some kind of animal pelt. Some kind of giant animal pelt. All right. And then we'll come in here. And we got some snow falling, and our Cyclops is very excited about that because he's never seen snow before. Okay. I'm going to turn off the sketch layer and just have a look. I think that there's a little more detail we need to put here in the foot. Not a lot, but just a couple of extra lines to make it clear what's going on. Maybe up there too. Give the hint of an eyelid. There you go. Maybe, here's what I'm wondering. Now I'm going to erase something because I'm looking here. We've got our Cyclops looking up, right? But the snowflake that's going on the tongue is right down there, which is the focus of this drawing. So I want to at least see what happens if I change it so that the Cyclops is looking down at the snowflake. I think I like that better. Let's clean it up. Yeah. Okay. Look good? I'm glad you agree with me. Let's put some color on this and we can call it a day. So we're going to come in here. We're going to go back to our gloaming brush. I'm going to switch to the colors layer. And tell you, I want to give my my Cyclops green skin. Why green? I don't know. Something monstrous. Could have been like a yellowish skin. Could have been anything. I don't want to give him something monster-ish. And we're going with the same kind of large shaped area coloring. So make sure you get the shapes right. With purplish skin, or greenish skin. Maybe we're going to go again for a purple tongue. And then we're going to go for a very light orange on the most of the pelt. Could have gone for a yellow. Suddenly, by hitting the orange and thinking about this, I'm getting a Fred Flintstone feeling. Which is not a terrible thing, but not intentionally wanting him to look like he's buying at Fred Flintstone's menswear shop, the Bedrock menswear shop. Oop. Whoa! Let's slow down there. Try that again. Alright, that's looking good. And then let's go in and do a little bit of shading on all of those. Just grab the main color, add a little darker version of it. Sometimes, so you need to figure out where your shadows. Wow, I really didn't finish any thought there. When you're doing these shadow things, it's shadows are created on the opposite side of where the light is coming from. Now, I'm not doing these particularly realistic and accurate, but I do think about this in this drawing. Which side of shapes are the shadows going to come on? Right, I've decided the light is up here and on the left and coming down that way, so the shadows are on the right side of things mostly. Again, since I'm not being 100% true to life, I have room to put a shadow where it might not technically show up. It might not correctly show up in real life, but it does help to do the job. Like here, this one I'm doing right here on the knuckle. With the light coming from the left side, there shouldn't be any shadow on that side of the knuckle, but I really want to help give the idea that it's rounded out, so I put it there, and it doesn't look wrong. No one's going to catch me on it. I suppose, an art professor, if I was doing this for a class, might actually call me out on that because I didn't get my lighting correct. But for something that's just for fun, it doesn't really matter. Put a little shading on the underside of these dots. Now it's a little weird because I really don't want the dots to seem. Dots don't come up off the surface. They're part of the surface of that, but it just helps define their shape a little better. And we can put a little actual color in there. Again, it probably wouldn't really be there because these don't have depth, these spots. They're just flat coloration changes, but by doing that it makes them stick out a little more. It helps your eye see them better. As said before, that's the main thing. Fool the eye into doing what you want it to do, seeing what you want it to see. Ooh, darker than that. There we go. There we go. And we got a, I want to give that eye. Now we talked about this a little too. Like if I don't do anything to that eyeball, it just looks really flat compared to everything else there. So I'm going to take a very pale yellow and just, maybe like a gray. There we go. So that it creates that shadow, because it's not, your eyes aren't flat, they're rounded, so they will have little shadows on the far side of the light. I haven't done the tongue. That's an important bit. Actually, going to do even a second color, so the part inside the mouth is even darker. There we go. So we'll come back once again to our lines layer with our inking brush, with the black ink, and put a little stan on there. And we have a Cyclops eating snowflakes, catching snowflakes on his tongue. Yeah, I buy it. That's kind of cute. Every once in a while I do drawings here and I think, that I should draw that again, only take a little extra time, be a little more careful with my rendering. This would be a fun, I don't know, like paper craft ornament. You could hang him on your tree. Anyway, we've reached the end here. We've had 3 successful drawings. We have a Cyclops catching snowflakes on his tongue. We have a Yeti as a street corner Santa. And we have adventurers reading comics and getting fooled by a mimic. That, I'm looking at that. I think I would need to go back in there. I need to go back in there for a second. Why? Because I just can't leave well enough alone. Why? Because I think that mimic tongue at purple just is not reading right. I think I want to come back and make it red. Maybe not that red. Oh, hey. That's what I want to do. Gloaming, but let's erase what we have there right now. We'll erase the purple, pinkish purple, fuchsia, and we'll come back with the red, because I think that's going to sell the idea of a tongue just a little better. It's a weird thing we've got going on there. There we go. Yeah, I think that does it. Alright, and we have adventurers reading comics. So there we go. That is our random encounter bunch for the night. I'm going to take a drink here, and I'm going to pull back out to just me on the screen. And let's see what's going on here in the chat, and we'll wrap up. Let's see. You get to celebrate not being visited. They must be talking about Krampusnacht. Yeah, well, that I guess makes sense. Someone posted a picture, a picture from probably 100 years ago, of kids on Krampusnacht, a little boy being stuffed into a bag. And next to him is this little girl that really looks like it must be a doll, because she's just sitting there like this with a ball in her hand while the boy is getting stuffed and clearly is struggling to get out. If she's just sitting there that unconcerned while Krampus is right next to her, I don't know. Hide the scissors. Let's see. Big tongue with no depth perception. Yeah, that's one of the things I thought too. If the Cyclops is going to catch any snowflakes, he's going to need a big wide tongue, because he's got no depth perception, no real clue exactly where those snowflakes are. Linnea says, I like this batch. On a roll tonight. This was a fun night. They're all fun. But yeah, I think that these all came out pretty good. Sometimes there's a wider array, and one of them doesn't quite hit. One of them hits really well. I think we had a good batch tonight. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. I will, of course, be posting these on my social media. You can come on Facebook, or you can come on to my Instagram. Instagram.com/Stanex. Also, Facebook.com/Stanex. They will be posted there for everyone's amusement. I also, however, make sure that anyone who is one of my patrons, have I mentioned that I have a Patreon campaign? I have a Patreon community? Yes, I do. Anyone who's a member of my Patreon community, I send them email. They get a special email that has all of the drawings that were done, including some of my thoughts about what went on when we were doing this, or what I was thinking, or what I think about it afterwards. It's kind of behind the scenes stuff. So if that kind of thing is cool to you, you may want to consider joining my Patreon. If not, just go to the Instagram, because you'll get to see all the fine art. Anyway, tell us more. This is Linnea. I don't know what more I can tell you. The Patreon is definitely a lot about giving behind the scenes look. I don't hide a lot of art, right? The stuff I do is out there for free. I want everyone to be able to enjoy it. I want anyone who likes my artwork to be able to enjoy it. What I can give is a little extra glimpse of my process and my thoughts, and that's what I try to do. Right now is actually, if you like that kind of thing, right now is a pretty good time to be joining in on Patreon, because before the end of the year, I'm trying to get caught up on all of the stuff I've drawn in the fall and winter, which is a lot. And I fell a little bit behind, so I'm putting up I think I need at least 3 posts a week in order to get all that done before the New Year's. And I'm going to try and stay caught up going on. And once I'm caught up, I'm going to try, I'm intending to add more, again, behind the scenes stuff, but kind of a process video. Right? You get the whole process. If you come here to the show, you see how it was drawn, but I can make a video that shows you the whole process of drawing a single image, and it's 30 seconds or a minute. You get to see the whole thing unwind before you, and it's magical, and do people like that kind of thing? So I'll be trying to do some more of that. In the meanwhile, I hope you all are doing well. I hope that the holiday season is treating you well. If you are celebrating Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah. I hope the next 8 nights reward you mightily. Everyone else who are celebrating other things, I hope that whatever parties and festivities, when they crop up, really bring light to your life. I will be back here next Thursday for another evening of improv cartooning. I hope you can join me. And if not, please, I hope you enjoy it on the replay. If you're watching the replay, leave a comment. At the very least, give a thumbs up. give me a like, give me a subscription. That'd be terrific. They help me a lot. They help me to overcome the dreaded algorithm and help this project get seen by more people. So until next time, wait, something's in my head. Something's telling me there's something. I wanted to mention one more thing, and that is that I have a coloring calendar that is available for sale right now. Actually, just the PDF is for sale right now, though a printed version is coming that just takes longer to get approved. If you go again to my Facebook or my Instagram, there is a posting about that with a link to where you can find that. It is a 2024 calendar with 13 coloring pages, one for each month, and then a final one for all of next year. So I encourage you to check that out. Even if you don't want to buy it, please go check it out. And tell your friends about it. Tell your friends about this. Tell your friends about me. Tell them about the joy in your life. I'm getting a little wound up. See what happens? I get all misty when I'm doing my drawings. I'm gonna go lie down now. Be good. Be good to each other. I'll see you next week. Bye.